There was once a very talented craftsman who was hired to build a small church in a small village. The man was given a month to complete his task, and he assured the people of the village that he would do as he had promised and build them a beautiful church that would make them all very proud. The craftsman asked the people of the village to give him his wages before he began his work so that he might buy food and materials. The kind people of the village trusted the craftsman, and so they paid him his money and believed that he would do as he had promised. But the craftsman did not begin work straight away. Instead, he used the money to gamble and to buy wine. He often slept late into the afternoons and rarely felt like working in the hot sunshine. And so, before he knew what had happened, the whole month had passed and only a few bricks had been laid in the ground. The craftsman grew very nervous when he realized that he only had one last night to complete the church. He knew that it would not be possible to finish the task in such a short time, and he was sure that the villagers would be very angry and would demand that he repay the money they had given him. And so the desperate craftsman decided to make a deal with the devil. "Please, oh devil," said the craftsman on bended knees, "make this church for me in just one night so that the villagers do not punish me." The devil appeared in a puff of black smoke and said to the craftsman, "I shall build this church for you in a single night, but in exchange for my work, you must promise me your soul." "I promise you my soul," said the reluctant craftsman, "but the church must be completed by dawn, and it must be absolutely perfect in every detail, or our deal will not stand, and you will not get my soul." The devil agreed, and in no time at all, he called his workers from the flames and set them to building the church. The craftsman sat and watched with a heavy heart as the devil and his workers went about building the floor, the walls, and the roof of the church. The poor man grew more and more nervous as dawn approached, because it seemed certain that the devil would indeed have the church completed by dawn, and that it would be perfect in every detail. As the dark sky turned to a pale blue, the craftsman began to pray to God, because he very much regretted promising his soul to the devil. "I could have built this church myself," mused the poor man. "I am talented, and I am strong, and I can work hard. Why did I not begin the work when I promised I would? And now I am to lose my soul." The craftsman prayed and prayed that the devil might not complete the work, or that the church might not be perfect so that the deal would be broken. But as the sun appeared on the distant horizon, the poor man was sure that his prayers had gone unanswered. Then the devil stepped out from the church and invited the craftsman to inspect his work. "It is dawn, and I have done as you asked," said the devil. "Now your soul is mine, and you must follow me into the flames for eternity." The poor craftsman looked all about the outside of the church, but could see no mistakes whatsoever. Then he walked inside the church and desperately began inspecting the devil's work in the hope that he might find something wrong. But inside, just as outside, he could find no fault at all. Just as it seemed that his fate was well and truly sealed, the craftsman noticed a tiny ray of sunlight creeping across the stone floor of the church. He followed the sunlight across the floor, and there, at the foot of the far wall, he found that a single brick was missing. "You have missed a brick just here," exclaimed the craftsman. "My prayers have been answered for. You have not completed the work in every detail, and so our deal no longer stands, and you will not get my soul." The devil could not understand how he had made such a mistake. He was very, very angry, but he could not argue that there was indeed a brick missing from the wall. And just as the sun rose up into the sky, and the excited villagers began to gather at the door to the church, the devil disappeared in a puff of angry black smoke. Before the craftsman went out to greet the villagers, he decided that he would try to put a brick in the hole so that the church would be perfect in every detail. But when he placed the brick in the hole, the church began to rumble and rattle and shake. And so he removed the brick and decided that this hole would remain there forever as a reminder of how close he had come to losing his soul. "I shall never again make a promise that I am not prepared to keep," thought the craftsman as he walked out of the church. "I shall be committed to my work, and I shall always keep my word." The villagers were all delighted with their new church, and the priest too was very pleased when he saw the work. From that day forward, the little church was always full of people, and the craftsman visited often in order to remind himself of his promise. And do you know that little church still stands today? And if you ever visit, you must walk to the far wall, and there you will find a hole where a single brick is missing, and where, every dawn, a tiny ray of sunlight creeps across the floor and serves as a reminder to us all that we must always keep our promises and complete the tasks we say we will complete.
A long time ago, there were 4 families who lived in a small village in Somalia. The first family would argue all of the time. The second family was very greedy. And the third family was always away from the village, exploring because they were never happy with what they had or where they lived. But the fourth family was calm and patient, and they enjoyed living in their small community. One night, the daughter of the third family was out exploring when she discovered a well hidden among some trees in the wilderness. The daughter ran back to her family and told them about the well, and so they started to use the well to get their water. It was not long before the other families heard news of the well, and very soon all 4 families were using the well to get their water, until it was in danger of running dry. This went on for some time, and it was obvious that the water in the well was getting lower and lower. Yet none of the families wanted to stop using the well, as it was close to the village, and meant that they did not have to walk so far to get the water which they used to drink and cook and clean with. One day, the wise chief, who had always known about the secret well, spoke to each family in turn. The chief said to them,
"Tonight you must stay in your homes. You must not use the well for one whole night. That way the water will have time to rise once more."
Each of the families agreed to stay away from the well, especially as the wise chief warned that there would be a severe punishment for any family who disobeyed this simple rule. But when night fell, the son of the first family could not resist visiting the well, as he wanted to make sure he had plenty of water for the following day, so that his family would not argue over who would walk the long distance to the usual well used by the rest of the villagers. He crept out to the well carrying 2 large buckets and filled them to the top, before returning to his home and hiding the buckets where they would not be seen. Not long after, the son of the second family also crept out to the well and filled 2 large buckets all the way to the top, as he was very greedy and wanted the water for his family alone. Then the daughter of the third family also crept out to the well, as she could not resist exploring at night, and reasoned that it was she who had discovered the well in the first place, so it was her family who deserved the extra water despite the warning from the wise chief. The next day, the chief visited the well and was distressed to find that it was completely dry. He waited until he knew that all of the families were away from their homes. Then he visited each home in turn. In the first home, he discovered the 2 buckets, one of which was already empty, but the other still contained the water that was stolen from the well. When he visited the second and third homes, he also discovered the buckets of water hidden where nobody would see them. But when he visited the fourth home, he discovered that the buckets were dry, and realized that the patient family had remained in their beds all night. They had listened to his warning, and had stayed away from the well, so that the water might rise once more. The wise chief called all 4 families to the meeting place in the village, where he confronted them about the well.
"You 3 families all stole water from the well, even though I told you not to?"
said the chief in a stern voice.
"I know this because I visited your homes this morning and discovered the buckets of water. Because you defied my instructions, you will be forced to remain in your homes for 30 days and nights without food or water as punishment. I hope that you will spend this time thinking about the wrong you have done."
To the fourth family, he said,
"You listened to my simple instructions and stayed in your home last night and did not visit the well. Take this letter and open it when you return to your home."
The fourth family took the letter and returned home. When they opened the letter, there was a map inside. The family followed the directions on the map, and after traveling for many miles, they discovered a well surrounded by an abundance of fruit trees and vegetable plants. There was enough food and water to last the family a whole lifetime. The families who were forced to stay in their homes without food or water learned a valuable lesson that day. They learned that it was always best to listen to the advice of one's elders, and not to take things when you were told not to. They also realized that the fourth family was rewarded for their patience and their willingness to follow the simple rules that benefit a community.